Hello, and welcome to Pub and Fig. This is the first of 5 movies I'm reviewing for the AFI's 5% series. If you are completely confused, a link to the video introduction is in the description below. This video, as you probably saw in the thumbnail and title, is about It's a Wonderful Life. This film was released January 7th, 1947, and directed by Frank Capra. On AFI's Top 100 list, again, watch the introductory if you're confused, it holds the 20th spot, which is the highest rank on this series if we are excluding The Godfather Part 1. In this video, I will do a very brief summary for the movie, its audience reception, what makes the film unique, and why it should or should not be on this AFI list. That's a long enough introduction, so with that, I hope you enjoy. The major characters I want to hit are George Bailey and Clarence, for they drive the story. Yes, there is Mary and Joseph, not that Mary and Joseph, but they are sadly not needed for the summary. In the beginning of the movie, 2 angels, or something, bring up the matter that George Bailey is in a little predicament and has been considering suicide. They call over the angel Clarence and show him the events of George's life, which takes up the majority of the film, just so that Clarence knows who George is. For time's sake, however, I will skip all of that. Then we arrive at the present, which is the Christmas Eve of 1948, where we see George is at a bridge prepared to jump. But before George could, Clarence jumps in instead, forcing George to jump in just to save him. However, George still believes that his life was useless, so Clarence showed him what the world would look like without him. George takes back what he said and made it through his little crisis, which had basically caused him to think about suicide in the first place. I'm aware that summary was very quick, but let's move on, just for time's sake, even if this is going to be a short video compared to the rest. So, how was this film received at its initial release? Now, many of you are watching this may be thinking that this film was greatly received. After all, it is a holiday classic today. Well, it did and does have a great record-breaking performance, but I'm only referring to this one. Yes, I am a cruel human being every now and then, but am I as bad as the reception this film received? This may be shocking, but the film bombed at the box office, putting the studio and Frank Capra in a large debt because they did not make all their money back. So what makes this film special? And how did it become the classic we know today? Well, this movie did not become a classic by an immediate change of heart, especially since the initial reception would never change, as that basically happens with all films. What the unsung hero was for this was copyright issues. When they fell, it basically caused a free-for-all amongst television channels, and it allowed them to show the film as many times as they wanted for themselves without any charges. Now, some of you may have heard that the Bert and Ernie from Sesame Street got their names from this movie. If you did not know, the sheriff is named Bert and the taxi driver Ernie, but the names are just pure coincidence, no relationship at all. So what does make this film special on its own? One thing that really does make this film shine is how it revolutionized snow effects in cinema. Before this movie, the only way you would get snow on sets was with painted cornflakes. The main issue was that they would be very loud when stepped on. I mean, they're solid cornflakes, that resulted in re-recording all of the dialogue for the scene. Frank Capra decided to avoid this by making a new snow. He did it out of a combination of water, soap, and fomite. Because of this film, cinema has a new, easy-to-work-with recipe for snow effects thereafter. For those of you that have seen this film, which would be surprising if you hadn't, you would probably know that this has a very decent story. Why'd I say probably? It is about a man who has to set aside his wants in order to help the other's needs, which makes him a better person overall. He has his struggles because of a monopolizing tyrant, and he has to rise against him in order to save the people around him. That is It's a Wonderful Life in a very vague summary, but the story executes the structure in a very unique way, introducing us to an interesting cast of characters, an interesting new town, and yeah, it's just a great film. And it's because of this that's why it is a really great film, and that is why I believe it should be on AFI's Top 100 list. Okay guys, that's all I have for It's a Wonderful Life. This movie was easy to search for its information, and I'll have sources down below, but it is still great, and so are the other films that I am reviewing. I hope you will continue this AFI series with me, even though this video is pretty short. That's all, so with that, sayonara.